Hey there, welcome to ATL and 29, a podcast where we look at the NBA from the starting point of Atlanta. My name is Kevin Chenard. We've got our full complement of co-hosts tonight. I'm here with Tyler and Glenn after the mixed late weekend in LA with a throttling of the Clippers and a throttling by the Lakers. How do you make any sense of that at all?
Um, the Lakers had more size and had functional point guard play where the Clippers didn't. I think that's pretty much the end of the second half of the season. The Hawks have played the reason why the defense has been better has been in part due to the fact that they've played a lot of teams that have had, poor to non-existent point guard play recently. Whereas teams that do have like quality point guards, like the Lakers, were just destroying the Hawks' trap defense with their passing. With LeBron, D'Angelo, Alistair Reeves playmaking. They, whereas the Clippers, interestingly enough, even though they had James Harden, he didn't look himself. Combined with that's not a strength of Kawhi Leonard's game. He's great at a lot of things, but like as a playmaker, he's pretty average for his position. Whereas LeBron is kind of exceptional. So that's kind of where I thought it was, and also the Lakers, like they consistently like got the Hawks in bad position. Only Jalen and DeAndre had any shot at guarding LeBron, so it was a lot of that.
Yeah, it's funny because I mean, it feels like the broader kind of population of people who watch NBA maybe don't know how to feel about Anthony Davis at this point in time. But he
Oh,
had a lot to do with like why the Lakers got to their spots and why the Lakers kind of got what they wanted on offense, which is because like he's hitting a 20 footer on the baseline or he's doing whatever, and he's not this like flawless player, not at all, right? But he's something that is so hard to account for and so different. And you watch the Clippers play. I know that they were, tough schedule spot for them. Every team's running into that pretty regularly this time of the season. It's all kind of a grind the rest of the way. But you look at it's like where does that come from for the Clippers? And or are their guys just taking turns or kind of what's going on there? But I mean, it's not like the Lakers have this like some like high level of guard play. I mean, Austin Reeves is a nice player, can kind of do a few things and things like that. But having a big who can kind of stretch the floor and shoot enough playmaking, enough of that, to me, that was the difference between those two, apart from the fact that the Hawks were the second night back to back. But I mean, Anthony Davis is still a nice, guy to have to kind of throw out there when you when you need
yeah,
that thing that almost no other teams have, right?
calling one of the 10 best basketball players in the world a nice guy to have. Yeah, I mean,
Totally.
like, yeah, that's a great point because um, we kind of saw it with the Clippers when they went five out. The Hawks had a real hard problem. Like I felt on really on both ends, like accounting for the matchups just because of their personnel. And even though PJ Tucker, he doesn't move like he used to, uh, he's a significant. He's still like a better athlete than what Zubac or Daniel Tice was or Mason Plumlee was giving the Clippers on the perimeter, combined with his real shooting that can pull a big out from the paint. And the Lakers, AD's not some great shooter, but he has a respectable jumper and a good face up game. And I felt like it felt like he had his legs under him, and he was just winning the Clippers matchup. Combined with, I thought Reeves and D'Angelo did a really good job of screening for him to get him those like driving lanes to get downhill against Capella. I mean, I was impressed with what the Lakers did. I was like comfortably one of the LeBron, like that was a throwback LeBron game too. Granted, I
Totally.
think he wanted to, that's just what LeBron. I tweeted that's kind of what LeBron does when he respects like a team or a young player. He wants to show out, and I felt like he
Yeah.
really wanted to put a put on a show for Jalen. And that first half was pretty, like, I don't know, to me, that first half between him and Jalen was pretty exciting. Just their back and forth, even though like LeBron's just total game is just on another level right now, even at his age. But it was good to see like Jalen go back at him. And it was good to see Jalen go at like Kawhi and Paul George in the Clippers game too. So like it's just been a fun growth watching him play. So hopefully he's going to play on Thursday, but I
Yeah.
don't know that.
Yeah, it's funny because yeah, you watched against the Clippers, like Paul George, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard looking at a packed paint, right? And when I watched that, like I don't know if Kevin or Tyler, you have this like, oh man, like how much will Luke Kennard help this team? Like where is that like shooter coming from? And you're looking at Terrence Mann and Amir Coffey, on and on and on. And I mean T. Lue is probably right up there with Spo as my favorite kind of defensive coach in the league. I love watching how he could. You put five switchable guys on the floor on a T. Lue team, and it's just I don't care if they're down 18 points and trying to come back the fourth quarter. It's still a fun watch. But it's like, man, they just need a shooter like to create some. Do you put Harden in the corner? Like, what do you do with that group? But like Anthony Davis, who like, is he going to play 58 games this year or whatever? Is he going to play every game in the postseason? It's like I don't know, but I want that in my back pocket. When it comes to the playoffs, and whether they're the 10 seed play-in, whatever that is. And I mean, it seems like it's going to be uphill for them the whole way, and like the likelihood of them like reaching the conference final seems almost impossible. But it's like, hey, we have AD, like, so we're gonna give it a shot. It's just interesting to contrast those because ideally you have those guys for the Clippers, and you're like Brian Oliver could touch the paint, touch the paint, touch the paint, touch the paint. They could not touch the paint against the Hawks at all, and the Lakers lived in there.
Yeah, and I think that to me that spoke to. I mean, I'm watching James. I'm like, this isn't James Harden the Hawks saw in Atlanta. Like, and he has like a shoulder thing, and I just think James wasn't right, and without Westbrook as well, they really like if James and Westbrook aren't available, the Clippers don't really have a point guard, and
Yeah.
so then they're. I think you tweeted about this earlier, during that game was like the Clippers just don't have that juice to really bend the defense, and so the Hawks were never it felt two things. It felt like the Hawks were just way more athletic than the Clippers, and like the Clippers just didn't have anything that really threatened the Hawks on the defensive side of the floor. Whereas the Lakers, I mean, like LeBron still at his age is still such a force of nature in transition. Where if it's not Jalen or a big like manning him up, it's just going to be easy 2 points for him still at his age. And I really think the Lakers really attacked the Hawks in transition, whether it be off of misses where the Hawks just missed a bunch of open 3 pointers again, which happens. And so I just think the flow of the game was in the Lakers' favor, and the Hawks couldn't really get it back. But I don't know. I was actually impressed with the in between passing that Russell and Reeves were doing. Like they were passing between each other where those two guys were like rolling as bigs to the floater area and just parking there where there was space based off of the double teams the Hawks were sending LeBron's way because if it wasn't they just didn't have a chance without Jalen or DeAndre on the
Yep.
zone defenses the Hawks were having to play behind the double team and taking advantage. So I just felt like that unlike the Lakers, the Clippers didn't have like that one advantage they could just go to. The Hawks put Jalen on Kawhi and uh they were comfortable with putting V on Paul George. This is something maybe we get into a bit more, but like Krejci's defense has been a real thing.
Yeah.
And that's not something I saw coming. And so it's kind of stabilized things a bit with Bay no longer being available. as another forward that Quinn can trust, at least on the defensive side of the floor, to execute what he needs to be done.
And that's where I want to ask Kevin. Like, I was hoping we could kind of dig into what Pete's doing on defense, and I mean, it's not perfect, and like there were times that the Lakers hunted him out with a guy who weighs, I don't know, 60 or 80 pounds more than him. But Kevin, you've been living, in College Park with that team, and what a great G League season to have kind of a front row seat to just kind of see what Ryan Schmidt and the kind of the organization is investing in, kind of to lay the foundation of some kind of defensive capability. And we've talked about Kobe, we talked about Veet, and others, but like, can when you saw Veet playing in College Park, did you anything he was doing there like cause you to imagine like that he was going to be starting with the Hawks and taking an assignment like he has the last week or so? I think people would love hearing from you, kind of talk about what it is like to have watched him at College Park and now see him taking on the assignments he's taking on now.
I I want to go away from that to start because
Okay.
I it's sort of like it's completely flipped around, and I think it's partially just a usage thing. But I actually want to start with his offense because I think that's been such a
Mm.
huge thing to track over the past few games, which he was in at the end of the Utah game, which just made no sense to me whatsoever. And then in this game, like you mentioned before, it was kind of that first half was kind of a back and forth between LeBron and Jalen, and they both did so many things, but I think the biggest differentiation between the Hawks and the Lakers in that first half was that what Jalen and LeBron did as defenders off the ball, because they were both doing a lot on the ball, offensively, defensively, but when they were away from the ball, Jalen was like routinely getting lost as a defender when he wasn't on the ball. And LeBron, part of the reason I think the Lakers were able to get in transition as often as they were is that the defense was helped so much by LeBron just playing free safety. Like he wasn't paying any attention at all to V. And, if there's a guy in the world that you trust to do that, like it's LeBron. Like he's out there, he's 6'9", 280, and he's a human supercomputer knowing what's going to happen on the floor. He was just able to get in the way of so many plays because he didn't really have to do that much on defense. He could kind of go and do what he wanted to do. And, I'm a little bit worried that not that, and it's not even that Beat's a bad offensive player, but if you're going to use him in a complementary role where he's just constantly off the ball, you're using him the wrong way because he's not a gifted and eager shooter for as much as his defense has improved. If he's an off-ball player, he's kind of wasted, especially if he's an off-ball player not getting just some touches to attack the seams and, keep the ball moving
Yeah,
from one play to the next play. Like it doesn't have to be that he shoots. It can be you swing it to him, he's got a seam, he attacks, and it's a driving kick to start the next action within the shot clock. And they don't even do that. And so, I'm just, I just feel like that's a big thing right now. I mean, obviously, this isn't their ideal situation. They want to have Sadiq Bey and they want to have more players so that they're not up against this. But if they are going to have to start V, I'm kind of just concerned that they're not getting him enough touches so that he can do the things that he does best on offense so that teams take him credibly as a threat.
I think that's fair, but at the same time, I mean, his passing has been like even in the short stints he does get the ball, his decision making has kind of helped a lot with what the current construction of the team. Like they just um secondary ball creation is just not a thing for this team. So I think it actually, even in the limited time he's had the ball in his hands, he's still being a positive offensive player because like he doesn't hold the ball and not know what to do with it.
That's
Like
right.
he could he it, as long as the ball is moved to him, he's making the right reads and making the right decisions, even if that decision is to take a jump shot. Within the flow of the offense, he's still like, to me, he's a positive player. I think it's not fair to be like, well, LeBron, like that's LeBron James, and that, and it's also another thing where it's like, okay, yeah, it's not ideal, but I like the defense so much, and also just having somebody who's not whose predilection isn't just to score the basketball on that starting unit. I think it's helped. It's helped Capella a bit more. In particular, I think weirdly enough, I think just because of his ball movement is giving Capella better lanes to finish.
Right.
Even though this, you wouldn't think that with his negative, neutral to negative spacing, but it's just he's got a little. I don't know. It's weird to describe the type of play he's given the Hawks, but like I think he's been a positive overall. But I do hear your concerns, but like I don't know with the way DeAndre's on this weird minutes limit thing where I don't know how many minutes he's allowed to play. I think Bogey's on a similar timetable as well. Like I understand why he's starting, and I hear your concerns, but like I mean personally, me, I'm like I'd like to see Vit play next to Trey if this is the
Oh yeah.
defense he's going
No,
to give me. You
absolutely.
know,
No, that's my
this,
point. Is that he's
yeah,
getting wasted next to DeJounte. Like
yeah.
he's
I
not
mean,
enough. It's not that he's not a capable offensive player. It's just that in the role that he's there, like they're just underutilizing him. And the less you use him, you just get such a depreciation of what he can bring offensively. It just,
Yeah.
it completely devalues it.
So Kevin, let me ask you, because I think people really want to, like, you want to be more than anyone I know, like at College Park, offense, defense, right? And it seems like as we watch this current version of the Hawks, I think what Hawks fans are seeing is, wow, if like when everybody's back, if the second unit is DeJounte plus Hunter plus whatever else kind of works, like that's going pretty well, right? But when I think about, okay, where does Veet plug in to that, And for me, it's like I love seeing him step. I'm a guy who loves summer league, so I love watching guys kind of step up, take a defensive role that you're like, wow, is this like, wow, like this is kind of cool to watch. But offensively, if you were to try to kind of ramp up some form of usage, Kevin, like is it middle pick and roll on the second unit? Is it short roll? Like Jalen's the only guy right now. Jalen and some Onyeka, they haven't given Onyeka a ton of opportunity there in short roll, according to what I would like to see. But is it ball in his hand? He's creating on the second unit. Is it short roll? Is it off the ball attack on the cat? Like if we were to see the Hawks kind of ramp up something offensively to kind of lean more into its kind of natural skills, what is it on offense that they should be pushing more toward, do you think?
Kevin, can I cut in real quick?
Go, 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 go.
I want, especially against defenders that are guarding DeJounte 94 feet, I just want Veet to bring the ball up the floor.
That's right.
Like, let's start here. Just to get him to touch the basketball, and two, more importantly, to get the Hawks into their sets faster, because that's where the Hawks fall into. Like in their really bad offensive games, a lot of it is just DeJounte can't get the ball up the floor fast enough, and they're not getting into their sets on time, and so it's just dragging their offense down. Whereas I'm like, look, man, V can run an offense. Like he can deal with ball pressure, and most teams aren't going to put a good defender on V Krejci.
Exactly.
So why don't you use that as your advantage to get like I felt like they did that against the Clippers.
I don't think they did it
Like
against the Pelicans though. Like that was the
they
perfect
didn't. They
opportunity.
didn't.
Bingo,
It's
bingo.
like what the value of Veet and DeJounte is they're actually kind of alike on offense. You want them attacking a seam. You want them kind of
Yeah.
breaking down a defense. They're not the most natural point guards, but like I think the value is in the duplicity and that if there is a Herb Jones out there that you have somebody else who can run a play, whether it is directly on the ball or something in the short roll. Like all the things that you mentioned is like a little bit of all of it, but it just I think you want him more involved. And like Tyler just said, like I think the value there is that he's not going to draw the same defensive assignments that DeJounte is. So if he's being guarded by somebody who's a little bit less attentive, then I just you just want to kind of have him. You want to skew the offense where he's initiating more things because it's just a better opportunity against a weaker defender.
I like it.
Yeah, the Pelicans game was frustrating because like if they watch, like it's like they forgot how they played them in the preseason. I get it's a different team now, but like Trae Young was destroying Herb off ball. And like DeJounte had his best stretches against Herb that game when he was operating off the basketball.
Yeah.
But like I felt like it was I don't know. Like that was one of those things where I don't understand why Veet wasn't just running the offense because he's being guarded by CJ McCollum. Like just take advantage of that so that you can get your best offensive player in easier time. That's one thing I really wish, and I felt like they did that against the Clippers. Against the Lakers, like I said, like I just think I think offensively the shots just weren't falling, and then it snowballed from there to negative plays on both sides of the floor. But like against the Clippers, it felt like Veet was doing a lot of offensive, like just bringing the ball up the floor, getting them into their sets, getting DeJounte into good positions to really attack whoever was guarding him. I think, which was Terrence Mann, like getting him off him, setting screens for him, all that good stuff. Like I think that's hopefully like they can continue what they did with the Clippers. I don't want to put too much into the Lakers stock because like to me, I just felt like guys like Rui Hachimura were really like Rui, LeBron, AD. Like the Hawks only have two guys that can guard those three players on the
team. Yeah, we all know the Hawks need more size, right? So
yeah.
that's what was the primary thing with the Lakers, right? I mean, the schedule was kind of a tough thing, but I mean, the Hawks just have to be able to throw a bigger lineup out there, right?
Yeah.
Were you disappointed in the way the game ended with Jalen stepping on Clint's foot down 32 points?
I mean, for me, I think yes, but at the same time, I think we've said as the three of us over and over, and even when Tyler's kind of been on with Brad and Brad cover years, like zoom out and like the bigger picture is Jalen needs reps where he's creating. Jalen needs rep where I mean, like he was the guy that even Kevin, you're right to say his defense was really um problematic, kind of in that game. And we could take whatever amount of time and unpack that, but bottom line is it wasn't what you want. But I think Quinn is consistently in this kind of point of kind of viewing things as should I get him off the floor, or should I lean into reps, and I think that's not the most straightforward decision to make all the time. So I know some Hawks fans might be like, Glenn, you're kind of apologizing for Quinn. I think in that situation, especially, I think the deciding factor is he had a recent ankle turn. So I would hope that pushes you towards getting off the court in that situation. But I guess if I want to try to think along with Quinn, the reps have some value too. But I think the recent kind of ankle injury would make me think not worth it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
to me it
I
was
mean,
like I was more disappointed that Clint was out there.
Yeah,
I think Clint. I
three
mean,
healthy
I
centers,
think he
right? Or
was
three
sort of
available centers,
directing
right?
traffic and talking through the action and telling Jalen what he wanted, but I think he kind of read it wrong, and he
Yeah,
was probably tired and maybe not playing with the same sort of verve you would in the first 2 minutes
yeah,
of the first
that's
quarter. And
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
that's an opportunity where Bruno really should have been in the game because Bruno has
yeah.
done well. He had his minutes cut because Onyeka came back. It's like that's a perfect opportunity to get Bruno
That's
back in the game.
yeah. I didn't really understand. I don't know. Like with I'm with you on that one. Just because like it's not like that was one of the Capella's better games too. His second night of back to back. Like he's just now playing with the type of verve and physicality intensity that the Hawks have needed for the majority of the season. So I'm with you, Kevin, on like you have two available backups. I know Okongwu's on a minutes limit, but
Right.
like,
He probably couldn't have come back, but
yeah, you could probably get Bruno out there, during that 30-minute
Yeah.
stretch.
Yeah,
But like,
yeah.
I mean, Jalen, like, I think he's okay though. Like, I
he
Okay.
better
you
be
can't
okay if he
as a
wants to
coach.
keep going for most improved player because he cannot miss another game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's down to his last strike.
and the coach, like, I mean, like that was as aggressive as we've seen Jalen as a basketball player this season. Like he took 11 threes.
I
He
mean,
only
that
made
was
two
as
of them.
aggressive as he probably played a basketball game in his whole life. Like that
There you
Yeah,
was
go. Yeah.
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 So I understand Quinn being like, no, I want more of this, even if we're down 30. I don't
yeah.
care.
Yeah,
Like
I would have given him
I
some
need to
leash
see
for
this
sure.
more. This
Yeah.
because that's the player they need. I mean, especially with Trey out, the way he played against the Lakers and the way he's played since coming back from his ankle injury, with this level of aggression on offense, looking for a shot. This is the player the Hawks need. They don't
Yeah.
need like I don't it, I watched that game. I'm like, I know he twisted his ankle again, but I'm like, this is a future star in this league.
Yeah.
This is a guy who should be getting multi all-star appearances in the NBA. Like, with the combination of size, skill, athleticism, and talent, like there's no reason why he can't be one of the 15 to 20 best players in the NBA, maybe even higher than that. But he's got to play with that level of aggression. Like, I mean, he did a reverse double pump dunk in an
That was
NBA game off
ridiculous.
the corner. I'm like, what?
Yeah, Tyler, like, and Kevin, when you see Jalen go for it, that's when you're like, yes, like, because too often, like up until the recent week or whatever, it's like you see a situation where he's one on one versus in transition versus a 6'4" defender or whatever, and he's like looking for the pass or trying to read the rest of the floor, and those aren't bad things inherently. There are times when you're like, man, just go put the ball straight through the rim on that defender, and to your point, Tyler, he's been doing that, like, and
I
especially
mean,
against the Lakers, he did that, right? So I mean, that's the stuff that makes you feel like I don't really mind Quinn leaning into kind of like, yeah, go, Jalen. I mean that. So in that sense, I don't mind it at all.
I
And
mean,
I understand it.
he came back from the ankle injury. What I think the first game was against the Jazz. It's not like he was making all his layups. He was missing a lot of them, but he was still attacking, getting to the free throw line, playing with aggression,
Yep.
dunked on, like dunking on people. Like, and to me, I'm like, I can understand Quinn being like, this is the best stretch of basketball I've seen Jalen play all season
Keep going.
offensively.
Yeah, keep going.
I need him on the floor. I need him to keep doing it.
Yeah.
I don't care what the score is. I'm not playing for this game. I'm playing for the play-in tournament, because what that's the type. If Jalen plays like this in the play-in tournament, the Hawks got a good chance of making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Combined with, if he plays like this for the rest of his career, this is the type of building block next to a Trey Young that can really do damage in the Eastern Conference. The East is so weak right now.
Yeah.
Like you look
Three,
like you
three,
look at
three through or four through or whatever you want
I
to pick,
don't
right?
I don't
Yeah.
respect any of these teams except the Celtics and the
Boston.
Sixers if Embiid is healthy. And like the Bucks are old. The Sixers are a one man team. Like, am I supposed to be nervous about the Knicks' future? Like, the Knicks have capped out everything. They're a good team, but like, to me, I'm like, this is as good as they're going to get.
Yeah.
I know the Hawks have another gear in them. I've seen it from them. You add somebody with Jalen next to a Trey Young, you can do damage in it. That's a two-man. You telling me you potentially get two top 15 guys in the Eastern Conference in a weak East, where the Celtics are a team of a collection of highly talented basketball players, but like they don't have that true elite offensive player.
Yeah, their ball handling is suspect, right? Their passing is average at best, right? I mean, their defensive capability is like their length and their athleticism and stuff. But in terms of like you get into a grind it out basketball game and you need like buckets, it it's just it's system. Like I still think back to last year watching them and our good friend Wes Morton talking about how prescriptive their offensive is. And I think for a lot of Hawks fans, you think back to, I mean, and I loved it. The Bud era with the Hawks, it was like it doesn't matter who takes the shot. Yes, it does. On that level, in that setting, in that context, it really, really does. And I asked myself, like, do I trust Jason Tatum to so to put your point, I don't want to go too far on that, but to your point, Tyler, like it is more wide open, and I think when I watch this team play, Quinn's instinct is to lean into the things that maybe could factor into that kind of setting, whether
Yeah.
it's the play-in or whatever it is, and so and so in that sense, I just want to sit back and like, okay, okay, Quinn, we're kind of watching you there, and okay, rolling more Jalen when he's like feeling it and doing the things you want to see him do to give him the opportunity to kind of do that more and reinforce that. I think that does make sense. That makes some sense.
Can
And
I
so
ask a question?
it's just an interesting part of the season for the Hawks because other teams will pack it in, and I think Quinn is like, no, I want to reinforce the stuff that I want to carry into next season. Sorry, Kevin, go ahead.
With Trey telling Taylor Rooks a couple weeks ago, I want to be on the Hawks, but really what I want is I want to win. Do and ostensibly he's home in LA, uh, with his injured finger, rehabbing, spending some time with his family when he might as well, because there's probably not a whole lot for him to do.
Apparently
He got
half
to
the
see
team
it up
is
close and in
living in
person. He
LA.
got to see the win over the Clippers. He got to see Jalen kind of explode in that first half.
Yeah.
Do you think that, with him watching Jalen over the course of those two games, sort of live and in person, do you think that seeing that sways him in any way?
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean,
I think so. Like a quick one, you, Tyler, is I think his ability to function in the short role. I think his ability to function in transition. I think his ability to increasingly, hopefully, recognize when he has advantage and attack that advantage. That's everything you need next to Trey.
I'll say this about that because it's an interesting point you made, Kevin.
Yep.
Trey and Jalen were playing pickleball together in the offseason. Trey's not the most sociable guy,
Right.
especially with his teammates. He doesn't do pickleball with a youngster who hadn't done anything. So I think he's been hyped about Jalen for since they drafted him, and I think he's the one leading the charge with the most improved stuff. So I don't think these recent stretches game is you know to me I think Trey wants to be here and I think he wants to win here because and I wonder if NBA players are starting to realize this with how guys who leave go to multiple teams are treated or are considered like I mean somebody like Kyrie Irving had one of the best game winners I've ever seen.
Oh man,
Like a
and,
left-handed hooker over a 7 footer.
and barely anyone cared.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Kevin Durant, all-time great. He has no equity in this league. Like fans don't care. Like it's like I mean, LeBron is LeBron. He's a different entity but that's largely in part because LeBron's brand was like LeBron grew up with so many people, like so many of the current generation NBA fans grew up with LeBron James being the guy and being that bridge between the Kobe and Shaq eras to this current one. Uh, like LeBron has that. Steph Curry is Steph, but he does it. He's done it in one city. I think the other, like, I feel like other superstars are looking at this and they're like, I mean, if somebody like Kevin Durant can't be beloved, you know, or Kyrie Irving, who's probably the more closer since they play the same position, why would I want to leave? Being the man in Atlanta. So I'm like to me, I think like the legacy stuff matters, and I think with Trey having the opportunity to maybe possibly be possibly being the best player in Atlanta Hawks history. Like I feel like that's a bigger factor than what people are really understanding. Because I mean, they saw it with KD. Kevin Durant has won 2 championships, and I feel like he's lost. He hasn't been like in the hearts and minds of NBA fans. They loved him more in OKC when he was losing with Westbrook, when it was hard. This is how it's supposed. Like it's not winning is not easy, and sometimes the season just goes against you. And this season for the Hawks has gone against them. But like, I don't know. I think these younger guys are smarter, and like if you got a place that likes you like this, I don't know why. Like, I'm not saying like Trey wouldn't eventually do this, but I think for the right now, I'm not too worried about this in large part because I just think it's just so hard to gain that level of like fans truly being invested in your career like this.
Yeah, and fans discounting kind of joining up with other shit like that's getting discounted. I mean, how much does that matter? Like the fans, what do fans think, right? But that's your accomplishments are getting downgraded more and more with that type of kind of leverage play than ever. And so it is interesting to think about.
Glenn,
Maybe it's ancient history, but somebody like Shaq, like he's thought of as a Laker. Like he started with the Magic, and I mean, I think it can work both ways. I think you can kind of be sort of a one team in memory kind of guy, even if you play for more than one team. But like, I get what you're saying, and I think the other point here is that I want to win doesn't necessarily mean I want to be somewhere else to win. It can mean I want to win in Atlanta, but hey, spend some money. Like he could be trying to send a message of
use those exceptions, go into the tax. It's time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
that could be that. And
it could just be
one
a
last
leverage
thing
play.
I was going to bring up because we talk about winning being like diminished. I mean, look no further than the Denver Nuggets. Does it feel like they won the championship last year?
Yes.
I'm not talking about to us.
Oh.
I'm talking about like I don't see that. Like I'm not on TV like I used to, but the Nuggets aren't talked about. People just Jokic is one of the greatest players in NBA history.
Yep.
Does anybody care?
Yeah. Well, so that's the thing. It's like I think it's going to take getting to the end and looking back for a guy like Jokic just to appreciate it, and will Trey lean into that kind of patience? So I think that's the great place to leave it. I think that's his trajectory. That's fascinating. So yeah, good. Yeah, great conversation to think about Trey maybe getting on that trajectory. So with that, I think we should say good night, Bob.
Good night, Bob.
Good night, Bob.